Hey guys, I'm Simon and welcome back to an architecture tour of Deus Ex Human Revolution. In this video we are now in the Yuzhao district, so say welcome to the Yuzhao district. So we arrive by train in an equally small train station, matches the one in the Daigong district. And this is pretty much identical to the other train station. And we come out into, well, very similar streets to before, but if we look at the street pattern, we can see there's one main street, and then there's a little bit of back alley here. So in terms of street pattern, it's a lot simpler than this side where we had like a small loop and a big loop and all that. So this is only one main street, and it's a lot easier to navigate. And these alleys are, you know, they're notably different from the main street, and so when you're in here you know that you are not on the main street and all. Anyway, you see it. When we go down there, let's just walk down the main street. I mean, architecturally there's not much to say, it's just the same stuff all over again, although now that I look at it, this is paving, that's a street. But this street leads to a dead end, so oh wow. So there's like parking areas and everything, and zebra crossings and parking and all that, but if you have a car here you can't actually get anywhere because the street just ends in about 20 meters. Okay, that's a bit strange.
Goodbye.
But this here is a little courtyard, and then we can lead back to the other side of the city. If I can just show you this quickly, there's nothing special about it. There's like a interior courtyard behind some apartment buildings. For some reason there's a guy selling ducks and everything.
城里最好的价格。
They do look delicious. So a courtyard, special, let's just run back out. And here we have an interesting building. It's got funny shapes and funny angles all over it. It says Golden House in Chinese. You can't actually go into this building, but this building sits right at the corner of the street here, as you can see, and it's kind of in the middle of the whole city. And so I guess it helps to have a landmark here, so if you it's easy to remember. In fact, it's quite difficult to forget. You know, all these jagged angles and bright lights and everything, so by seeing which way you're coming from, you can tell where you are in relation to the rest of this map, and so that's quite useful, I think. So again, one-way street, but anyway, the street doesn't go anywhere as before. So we come down here again, like this. I think 3, 1, 2, 3, at least 3 on this level. I think there's one more. Anyway, I'm just counting the number of ways to go between the two districts.
Sorry?
The two halves of the city. Yeah, again, the street just ends here. And if we go into the side alley, if you notice how wide this is, I mean, you might think that's pretty narrow. But if you go into the alleyway, then it's even narrower. And there's no more shop fronts. So you can see all these shop fronts up here. If we come in here, there are no shop fronts. They're like blank walls. Some entrances to apartments and what looks like garages, but I don't think cars can actually fit in here. I guess they can. So, you know, there's no shop fronts. It's quite clearly a... Oops, I think I'm stuck. It's quite clearly a back area. And it's quite easy to differentiate between the two areas, you know, the main street and the side street. South, north... I'm not quite sure what that says. I think it's like an import-export place. Anyway, That's a car park. We'll come back later on in the game. At the moment, that's not important. And then back here is the main street again, and as you can see, this building with the funny shapes and angles. So that's it. So we came down out of the train station, down here and then around and back, and that's basically the street of this part of the map. I mean, there's not much architectural merit to it at all, really, except for, you know, the landmark, kind of that building there, which is quite useful for navigation or for, you know, finding your way on the map. Whereas in the other half of the city, I mean, all of the main buildings are quite recognizable, especially Honghua and the Hive, and I guess the river and Limb Clinic. But the way that city set out, you know, here, you know, the landmark is here, and so wherever you're walking, they all lead to this place. So you have this street here, this street here, this street here, they all lead to this place, and so you're quite likely to come back to that place, whereas on the other side there's two loops, and you can just walk around in circles without finding where you're going because it loops back on itself. Anyway, this is the rooftop, and again we can see the Pengu, although again, you know, aside from being a huge metal plate ahead, you know, on top of your head, it's not too much to look at. Maybe if we can get higher up, those buildings would look interesting. That looks kind of cool like that, but I'm having to jump up to see it, which is kind of disappointing in that you want to get up to a high place and just look around you and then see the city laid out before you. That's always a cool view to look at, but obviously there's kind of graphical limitations and all that, so this is the rooftop. Again, nothing too interesting. I mean, there's these bridges. I don't know why this bridge is so shiny and new when all of this stuff is so dirty and old on both sides. I guess that's kind of nice, a little rooftop garden. Oops. And also in this side of the city there's an apartment building, which is part of the gameplay. Like, you have enemies there that you either avoid or deal with. Hengsha Court Garden, that's your objective, if you saw the sign. So it's back this way, it's right where we came out of the train station. Gone. That doesn't matter, I'm just loading an old save game. So this is Hengsha Court Gardens. Again, nothing too notable except for these red lanterns, which are, you know, traditional Chinese things. And I guess the courtyard typology is quite common in Chinese architecture as well. The courtyard house. I guess it speaks of conservatism. You know, you're looking inwards. The courtyard house, I don't know, well, we don't actually have any courtyard houses in this game, but the idea is, you know, you have an extended family living around a courtyard and you face inwards, and then your family is fairly tight-knit and it's a cohesive unit. So that's kind of how the architecture reflects the culture. I don't know, that's interesting to you. You can look it up for yourself if you're interested. This game doesn't actually have any of that stuff. But yeah, courtyards are... I guess the Romans did it a lot as well. Romans and courtyard houses. And Italian architecture, Renaissance architecture as well, like the great families will have their palazzos and in the courtyard configuration again. You're looking inwards and all that. and the coherence of the family. Anyway, so we have an apartment building. Apartments, nothing too special. Looks just like all the other apartments in the entire game. I don't think as much effort has been put into this particular part of the game as some of the others. I mean, if you look at here, this apartment belongs to a hacker who is a Dutchman, but there's nothing here indicating his character. Whereas, you know, in Jensen's apartment and in Seraph's office, you remember how the things in the apartment reflect who the person is. Whereas here, it's got a big kitchen, it's got a few couches in the lounge, a dining table, and then there's no real... I guess that's the artwork. Abstract expressionism. There's rectangles of color and a tree which is kind of out of place alongside these abstract shapes. I don't know, it doesn't seem to say very much about the person. And here we have some Chinese paintings, which is again doesn't match that, you know, traditional Chinese artwork, although they're all the same, which is very strange. It's got a safe room here. It's a computer with notes and all that, so yeah. And so I just get the feeling that not as much thought has gone into the design of this apartment as some of the other spaces. Which is alright, I mean, it's not like everything needs to be completely perfect and highly detailed, but there's a little bit of oddity. And things like this. Like there's rubbish bins in a room behind the bedroom. Well, shouldn't this be a wardrobe? Why would you put rubbish inside a bedroom? It's just odd, right? Anyway, this I think is the last place in Hengsha, or at least the main city of Hengsha that we want to look at. The next part will be Daigong Medical Headquarters, and there's two parts to that. There's basically it's a huge tower from the ground up to above the Pangu, so there's like a lower tower and an upper tower. And yeah, next video I guess we'll move on to the lower tower of the Daigong Medical Headquarters, which is beside the limb clinic. I don't want to walk all the way back because it's quite a long way. In fact, I'll go back there and then show you the entrance, just to show you where it is. But I'll cut out the journey. Alright, so we're back here, we're outside the limb clinic. Over here we see Daigong Medical Shuttle Station. So you actually take a train to the headquarters. The headquarters is not actually here. I think the headquarters is right in the middle of the Pangu actually. So anyway, so that part is a gameplay part, so it's full of enemies, or it would have been full of enemies and puzzles and all that, but obviously I would have finished the puzzles and dealt with all the enemies, and so you won't see any of the gameplay. And we'll just quickly walk through that, I think, up to the upper tower. There's not... well, I'll talk about it when I get to it, but the lower tower is not too interesting, the upper tower is more so. And I'll just walk through the lower tower the same way I walked through the Highland Park facility. Just quickly going through it. Alright, I'll see you there and hope you're enjoying the series. Comments are welcome. See you soon.